Hi,
You
Mike.
wanna?
Hi, everybody. So, as Mike mentioned, my name is Pat. Some of you may have remembered me. I believe I was in one of the AMAs prior to this, right after the merge.
Correct.
So, yes. So basically, we've been quite busy setting, merging with the between Every and Velo, defining what products we're launching this year, and actually going ahead and building that one. Um, so this is sort of a MA just to catch up with the community, especially because we've recently updated and sent out a light paper and updated our website to reflect sort of I would say, a brand refresh for Velo. Um, yeah, so pretty excited to be able to talk about it to the community and sort of share where we are, where we think we're going, and sort of the new products that you should be expecting from us.
Thanks, Pat. So this is going to be a very familiar format for everybody. We're not doing anything particularly different to most AMAs. This will be recorded, audio and hopefully video this time. So we do have a guy from our marketing team that does allow all the pretty graphics and everything that you've come to see on the website, and a lot of material that we pump out. So he's recording the video for us. So you'll get that on YouTube within a week or two once we go through and edit it. So let's get straight into the questions. We expect this to take about 30 minutes or so. So yeah, we hope it's informative for you. So straight off the bat, Pat, Web3 Plus. It's not something that's common in the industry. We were trying to lead the industry with another acronym before. So what's Web3 Plus mean? What's it mean for Velo, and basically what's it going to mean for the community and our investors for this year?
Yeah, so essentially, we wanted to expand on the idea of Web3. What we've sort of encountered in terms of the issue that we see, part of it is, I think the concept that we see in that Web3 is completely different from what people would say Web2, or I would say the traditional finance infrastructure. What we see with sort of Web3 is actually not to see traditional finance infrastructure and Web3 as completely separate ideas and sort of ecosystem. Is the Web3 Plus is sort of something that we see as how do we make both of them work, right? So leveraging how can we use Web3 to help make the traditional finance better, or how to connect the two together, because to be honest, a lot of the liquidity, money, and even just on average users are still in the traditional finance world, and sort of to see Web3 as completely different. I think it's a little bit divisive, not divisive per se, but I think we're excluding a lot of what the benefits of what you see, and the reality of how to get more mass adoption is to marry the two together.
Yeah, correct. No, it's going to be a lot of work, I think, for this year. It's still marrying on what we were looking at doing last year, I guess, with Every, or earlier this year, rather. No, last year, yeah. But yeah, I think the tech as it's coming up is going to speak for itself. It will be good to get a lot of it out into the market. So leading on to that, though, we've announced 5 products. So we've got Universe, Orbit, Warp. Obviously, Velo Finance is already in the market. FCX is already in the market. But what else is coming this year? Like what else is coming into this Web3 Plus ecosystem?
Yeah, so I guess if some of you have sort of read the updated light paper recently, so I guess it's easier to categorize it as sort of the core and sort of a support services. So the core, Velo has the FCX, which is FCX and Quantum, which is basically the remittance service. It sort of goes together. That's something that Velo has been trying to do since the beginning. This year, the new products we're trying to launch is what we call Universe, which is a trading platform, and Orbit, which is a payment platform. And those would be the 3 main products that you would see this year. Obviously, to support the usage of these, we have the bridge, what we call the Warp, Velo Finance, which is the AMM DEX. and there's a sort of an on-off ramp on-off ramp crypto to fiat that will also building that channel out as well. And then the Nova chain as well. So these are the things that hopefully would help increase the adoption of our products, but also make it easier for users to come in and use our products.
Yeah, there's a lot of familiar, I guess, tech. It's not like we've thrown everything away on the Velo side of things. So yeah, Quantum, I think you could say, is the traditional, what Velo was trying to do with the Velo protocol, the DRS, all of that stuff. FCX is still there, which actually probably leads to the next question. How is FCX and the Web3 Plus ecosystem going to work? Like, what's the crossover there? There's a lot of interest from the community. But what's it actually mean in building out this huge ecosystem for FCX?
Yes. So the easiest way to sort of see how it is FCX mostly will aim at institutional users. FCX is currently an on-chain on-seller. Right now, it has around $100 million worth of 100 million in transaction value per day. Sorry, trading volume. I should say, correct myself there. FCX also works with our affiliated company Lightnet, and this is to work out with the network of MTOs or trusted partners in remittance. So that's sort of going on that part. What we're launching, newly launched product this year, Universe and Orbit, would mainly focus more on individual users. So Universe, as I mentioned, is a trading platform. The reason why we call it Universe is because beyond just cryptocurrency, we're also offering FX trading, and in the future we want to add more different products. Either equities or commodities in the future. That remains to be seen, which will come sooner than the other. So the idea is that it's a new trading platform where you can trade all kinds of different products. And then Orbit is a payment platform, as I mentioned. This will be a QR code payment application. And the reason why we use QR code is because QR code is I would say the main the popular way of payments, at least in this region of the world.
Yeah, it's much easier to scan a QR code from an app to do any form of peer-to-peer payment than it is to copy-paste a massively long wallet address. So it should be pretty exciting to see that hit the market too. Like, what type of adoption are we looking at? I guess you've got two completely, they're not completely different. Obviously, there's a lot of retail people interested in FCX because it's an interesting space for them. But what kind of adoption do you think people are going to see in, say, the first 12 months on each side? Like, where do you think a lot of our, I guess, core interest is going to come from?
Yeah, well, obviously FCX already has the capabilities, I would say, because it mostly targets institutional investors. Institutional users. That in terms of the BD, business development time lead, might take longer when deals are to be done. So I don't want to guesstimate on when that is. In terms of Universe, I think we're gonna aim at a few hundred million in terms of trading volume within the first 6 months per day. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. A few hundred million trading volume per day in the first 6 months. That's sort of the goal that we set ourselves. And then Orbit comes afterwards after we have liquidity, and then hopefully we're going to have in the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of users of our payment application as we grow that towards the end of the year. I mean, these are, I would say, very lofty goals, and hopefully we'll share by the end of the year.
I guess to summarize, FCX is still focused on institutionals, traditional finance, but it's not exclusive for them when it's launched this year. The broader Web3 Plus ecosystem is still retail, but allowing for greater access to institutionals and TradFi to come in. And then we have actually something that's completely new, is a bit of this peer-to-peer capability for users to transact between sort of both sides. Okay, so something else in the light paper, which probably made up about half of it, was our new token USDB. So what's the future of Velo? Obviously, what's Velo's utility is increased. People can see that through the staking rewards that they're getting. But how does USDV come into the picture, and what's it mean to Velo holders?
Yeah, so for a lot of people who are familiar with how we designed the functionality of Velo and USDV, Velo is used as the collateral for issuing new USDVs. Obviously, there's been a big change in terms of how that is going to continue. And we take lessons from what's happening in the market, or what has happened in the past year or so. I guess we can't get away from the UST debacle. And we learn from that, right? So obviously having Velo as a only collateral of USDV would just mean that we haven't learned any lessons from what happens to UST. So we're moving that away. Still retaining that function of Velo being some sort of collateral for USDV, but having most of the collateral, or majority of the collateral, actually comes from the stable coins like USDT, USDC as a collateral when we mint new USDV. And USDV is going to be the main stable coin we use within our ecosystem. So that's the pairing pairing for different assets that we trade on Universe, and also potentially for parts of the payments for Orbit as well.
So you can almost say I want to say it because it has a negative connotation somewhat, like it's over collateralized. It's not really algorithmic in that regard, which is what the big problem was with UST, with the collapse of Terra Luna side of things. So it's adding a lot more, I guess, security to the ecosystem, and giving, obviously, there's a greater utility for Velo, which before was only really used to mint the digital fiat currency, but now there's a lot broader application for Velo as a token. Still as a utility.
The utilities, right, actually comes from the usage of Universe and Orbit, for example. So, you can have people staking Velo to reduce the trading fees on Universe. People having Velo to use Orbit, for example. Also with the Nova chain, the added utilities of Velo token that we've designed.
So there is there was a question that was asked, so I guess it's probably something that's a little bit of an announcement. We will be opening for development on Nova Chain eventually at some stage.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Okay, so moving on to the community questions, there were a lot. And I think the response is great. What we've tried to do is capture the ones that are asked the most commonly, as well as have the most sort of relevance to what is just being discussed within the community, as well as on our immediate timelines that will be, of interest to you guys, sort of going into end of Q1 as well as early Q2. We'll have another AMA, so don't worry if your question's not asked. We will get around to answering some of them. So the first one is quite complex, and it touches a little bit, Pat, about what you just mentioned about the utility of Velo. Like, will there be opportunities for the community to provide liquidity on Velo Finance primarily, as well as, I guess, feeding into the treasury function that was mentioned in the light paper for Velo? Like, what is there that the community can do other than trading, basically, with the tokens on the platform?
So right now we don't have any specifics in terms of providing liquidity in the form of AMM or any other sort of pairing. In the future, if you read the light paper, there will be opportunities to provide, Velo for treasury to be used, or USDT for treasury to be used in return with, in some sort of yield percentage. In the beginning, the design is for us to do with a counterparty partner, and that's because we don't anticipate with this new model that we would generate enough for our usage. I think it's easier to go find a partner, let that person buy in, provide us liquidity to prove that this mechanism of ours worked in the ecosystem. And once we have that sort of going, we can open up to the community to participate. So that's sort of where we are currently. Obviously, we will design any new liquidity programs as we go along, as we see fit. So this may change.
Are we able to share a little bit about what I guess trading pairs we're going to be launching with on Universe in the coming week?
I would wait for that announcement, and I don't want to give it away for this session.
Okay, so a lot of the work we've done seems to be a heavy move away from Stellar. So obviously FCX, and we've shared it with the community. You can see the USDB trading on Stellar, like it's still there. But what's our bigger picture view? Obviously, Velo's a Stellar-based token in the primary token. Like, how's our relationship with Stellar currently? What does all this mean for our long-term sort of partnership with them?
We still work closely with Stellar. FCX is a on Stellar transactions. I wouldn't say we're moving away from it. We're expanding our usage across to other chains. That has always sort of been our the new goal, especially after the merger with EveryNet, which is to be sort of a multi-chain type of project. So I think that this makes sense to us. Doesn't mean that we're throwing away whatever past relationship we have. Stella is still a long-term partner, and we are continuing to working with them. Yeah.
Have we had any sort of look at the Soroban smart contract solution? That question comes up sporadically. I just thought I'd throw it in here since we're talking about Stella.
The smart contract with Stellar. I think the tech team has looked into it. I think for Universe, it makes sense for us not to do it on Stellar, just because I think any on-chain, we look into completely on-chain solutions, and they even with how Stellar Chain is still having an issue with in terms of to meet the sort of a comparable performance with any other traditional centralized exchange.
And then there's the whole issue of broad compatibility too, sort of making it accessible to a broader ecosystem.
We looked into it. It doesn't quite fit with what we're trying to do. So we're always seeing new things and seeing how it might work to fit into our goal. And we incorporate it as necessary.
Well, so what about our strategies for the year? Like, we've got a lot of products coming out now. We obviously need to start getting in fresh blood into the community, start increasing token holders, more trading activity. Like, what are some of the strategies we're looking at for the rest of this year?
Yeah, so obviously, a lot of them will be marketing on new products, trying to get people increase the trading volume, increase the number of users of our products, but also, that also comes. We see it as one main thing, right? Increasing the funnels, increase the people in the community, increase Velo token holders. That also means potential users of our products as well. So those are something that we've thought about, and we'll be rolling out new marketing campaigns, marketing initiatives, PR. As we go along, as it makes sense in terms of the sort of product life cycle as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's important to note it's there's no point us doing marketing now if we don't have something new in the market, right? Otherwise, we're just bringing new people into the community, and we have to go through a lot of proving ourselves kind of stuff and reliving the past. So,
yeah. Definitely, like it's marketing has to match sort of the product cycle, as I mentioned. So obviously, if we launch a big marketing campaign right when we launch Universe, when maybe the product still has, will still need some sort of user feedback, we could have I would say what we call a lot of people say good problems, but good problems can also crash a project, which is we get more users than our product can handle, and obviously we don't want that. The best sort of sustainable growth is to match the number of users to the capability of our products, and then really go up sort of that marketing campaign, up that marketing effort, once we're actually ready and we're sure that the product is ready.
Something else that pops up, which we have discussed internally to some degree, the future of burns for Velo token. Like, we're sitting at 24 billion. Obviously the tokenomics doesn't allow for that ever to be fully put into the circulating supply, but what's on the books for consideration for future burns?
So for now, we don't plan for any buyback and burn program, and part of the reason is we've done that before, and we don't see a significant impact it has on the pricing. I think that what I think what this question really asks is like what are ways that token holders can benefit, and I think with the new design of our mechanism, as the ecosystem grows, as the number of users grows for our products, there'll be a natural demand for Velo tokens to be used within these products. And that in turn will increase sort of a binding demand for Velo tokens that would in turn benefit early holders.
And I don't want to say it, but I have to say it the way it's written. When Binance, what other exchange? Are we able to talk about any other exchange listings that we had this year?
Yeah, obviously this is something very sensitive. We can't really talk about what exchange we're going to list or whatnot. Obviously, the strategy is to list to all the in all the major exchanges. Binance obviously is one of the biggest ones, so if there an opportunity arises, we would love to list there. Can't really commit or say anything of where we are in terms of the process. In the past year, we have listed new exchanges like crypto.com, like Huobi. So as you can see, that has always been our strategy, which is to list Velo tokens in as many a large centralized exchange as possible.
And actually, there was news from crypto.com literally hot off the press yesterday. The Velo tokens supported in their, what do they call it? In their app now. So I think it was previously only available on their exchange through desktop interface. It's now available in their app, which is a positive move. There's some other news. Hopefully, we'll be able to announce shortly to do with crypto.com. But yeah, thanks, Pat, for that one. So now, community questions that have been asked while we've been talking, and when we closed off there's a lot. Any that stand out, Pat, from the list you want to cover? Go down
so I guess I'll try to go through them as much as possible. Let's see. This person asks, will anybody allowed to deposit any asset in Universe, or do they have to convert USDC, USDT to USDV? Yes, the answer is you would have to convert to USDV, as the pairing will be with USDV. Would there be real yield fee or for Velo stakers on Universe? Potentially, so wait for that announcement. We haven't announced the details on that yet of what is going to come. Any update on Lightnet? I'm not sure what we can update on Lightnet. That is our affiliate company. FCX does work closely with Lightnet's product, and that has sort of been going on. When would there be more liquidity to Velo Finance Swap? As I mentioned, right now we don't have any plans to launch new liquidity sort of staking, but keep your eyes open. We may announce something in the future. Have you guys talking or onboarding any CBDCs for FCX? We have obviously always talked about this. The nature of CBDCs dealing with governments obviously takes a lot of time. As of right now, obviously there's nothing to have a major update on that yet.
Yeah, no one's really launched anything except. Well,
I mean, guys, I think you got to understand that when you deal with regulators or government agencies, like there's a lot of intricacies of talking to them. The process tends to take a while. So this is something that they're moving not quite as quick as other parts of crypto. And to be fair, I mean, it is, they do need to be, there are processes that need to go through before they can do it.
Yeah. Not so straightforward. There's an interesting one here. USDB be backed by other digital assets besides Velo USDC, USDT. There is the funding mechanism for customers that deposit fiat, right? So it's not technically backed by fiat. Is that still a function of the treasury and lending system?
The USDB that's trading on Universe right now would just be mostly, USDC, USDT, and Velo. That would be the main part for now.
Some of these questions are really long.
When will Universe launch equities, commodities, also other assets? This one we can't answer yet. Obviously, we're looking. once you sort of touch real assets, there's a lot more complexities to it. But we are looking into it. I can say that this won't be in the first half of this year. So, if anything, there'll be potentially as soon as in the second half of this year.
FCX commercially available date, like it's sort of trusted partners at the moment. What do we have a timeline for FCX?
Not right now. I see that a few. I think one user is asking different questions on the FCX. So, FCX main revenue comes from trading fees, and so there's no onboarding fees on this one. Right now, there's limited partners using it right now, providing liquidity. These securities are then used for the remittance sort of product services, and that's where it is at right now.
There's one here on. Okay, what's something unique about what Velo is doing compared to where the market's trending, particularly around Web3? Like, what's our key differentiator?
I don't want to really say we're unique because a lot of people recognize the same issues. I would say this is our approach to it. It's it's the same question, right? How do you make cryptocurrency more mass adoption? How do you make people actually use them? How do you solve problems you see in the financial markets? We're approaching it this way that we think makes sense to our target market, at least in this region. For example, QR code instead of card payments for Orbit. The way I see it is, we're going sort of in a more complete solution. So we're doing all of this sort of in one, I wouldn't say one-stop shop, but from end-to-end services to make it easier. So instead of using 3 different services, we're building a platform where it all works together and you can come to us for all these services that we offer.
This is a nice one. How can the community help around price recovery, building the brand, onboarding users? Like, what could the community do? I noticed there's been a few that have stood up and they're more active on Twitter and whatnot. And there's a lot of people answering questions in the community now, which is great. But what else do you think the community could do to help?
Well, for one, I think, if you can, help once we launch Universe, if you can come, play around with it, use it to trade, and then give us good feedbacks that we can improve the product. I think that's very helpful. In terms of community, I think that's something that we will be focusing as well to build that community out. So having a core community that understands Velo being our sort of voice or supporters that can spread sort of our message, our products, our news. Obviously, that helps a lot. As I mentioned earlier in a light paper, the mechanism that we're trying to do here is that in terms of price recovery because of Velo, it comes from the fact that more users are using our products, and that will generate demand for Velo tokens, and that would in turn increase the demand for Velo.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that this does come up a lot. Like, we are aware of where the price is. We do monitor the market. So I specifically sit down and look at it daily. Look at the news, look at the impact on us, look at how we're trending. We are in a positive trend. I think it's really important to sort of reinforce that if you come into the community, and we do understand everyone's frustration very, very well, but coming into the community and just because the price dumped in the 15-minute time frame and you come in the channel and say, oh, the price is dumping, that creates a bit of a negative vibe. So we can kind of check the emotions a little bit, just ask us questions about what we're doing in general. That would be great as well, just from the community engagement perspective. Do you have time for one more, Pat? Is there anything in the
I think this one's very current, right? So will regulations hinder USDB globally?
The recent one on the USDC, BUSD. Yeah, that's
BUSD obviously with Paxos is I think is a major news coming out in the past few. Yes, was it yesterday?
Yesterday morning. Yeah.
And it's hard to say really. It seems like the US regulatory bodies are clamping down on certain usage of cryptocurrency. It's hard to say where that is going. And how that, even though we're not in the US market directly, obviously whatever US decides tends to set the pace for other regulatory bodies to follow suit. With that being said, Velo is not a regulated body per se, and at least in the region that we are in, it seems like there are more crypto-friendly policies that are coming out. So we will continue to monitor this difference, but in the short term, I don't see any impact, in a big negative impact. The other issue is that I think we're USDB just starting with our universe in orbit. I don't think we're in anybody's radar to hit currently. Then in my perspective, it's still there's some element of complexities of BUSD and USDC and USDT.
It is interesting to see how that came about, but there's a little bit of pettiness there as well, I think. But let's see how it goes. What about obviously backing a platform with a stable coin? Do you view, maybe just to elaborate on that, how do you view that could pan out? Like, say, if the CBDCs get prevalence, like it's easy for us to pivot across. Do you feel, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think it remains to be seen how CBDCs will be adopted by regulators, central banks, I would say. And obviously, we can integrate with them, or it's hard to say how we look like with CBDCs, because I'm not sure what it would look like yet in terms of how it reaches the market. At least I know, like, CBDCs currently, at least in Thailand, only within interbank, within banks in Thailand, and not really in yet. So it's hard to say without seeing what it would look like.
Yeah, true. Okay. Last chance for anyone in Discord. If you've got a question, we're going to wrap this up a little bit over time, into expected time. But Pat, do you have anything else you wanted to share? We're sort of waiting to see if anybody's.
Obviously, I think keep an eye out on Universe. That will be launched quite soon, and we'll give out more information on that, on how people can go in and use and feedback. That's sort of our main focus right now from a product perspective. Orbit also will follow suit. It will come out in terms of a limited functionality in the beginning, and as we grow Orbit out, you'll see more functionalities of it as well.
And I think it's important to note what I've shared previously as well, is that we're doing this from a perspective of, we want this to go, and Pat touched on it before, we want this to go out right the first time. So we're going to basically soft launch everything. There'll be a exclusive access program, so we'll ask for members of the community to jump in. It will be kind of gated. We're not just going to throw things out into the market and then have problems with scaling or security or whatnot. So we are going to be pushing things out. We're still sticking with what we've communicated and shared. Things are still getting rolled out in Q1, but we're doing it in a very careful manner, because we don't need any more. We don't need anything to go wrong as we're trying to grow the company in the direction we're trying to take it with the Web3 Plus. So just keep that in mind, everyone. But we will keep you posted as soon as we open access for people, especially with the exclusive access program. We're pretty excited about that. Well, if there's nothing further, Pat, if you've, I guess, thanks for your time again. It is sort of a bit late in the evening, and I know you do have a lot on your plate currently, but appreciate you taking half an hour to sit down and give the community an update on what we have planned for the year and what we've been up to, I guess, the past couple of months in particular.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening in, and hopefully we'll get to connect again soon.
Okay, guys. Have a good night. Thanks, Pat.
Bye.